Hello. Today we are going to talk about burdock, or Arctium lapa. And first and foremost, burdock is a food. The root is the part that's eaten. You can eat it raw, you can stir fry it, you can put it in a soup, and it is even sold in some high-end health food stores where it usually goes by gobo, which is the Japanese word for burdock. And in Japan, I've read that it is considered to be a herb that promotes vitality, and specifically sexual vitality. So it is an aphrodisiac. And I can say from personal experience, I can attest that it indeed does act as an aphrodisiac. But it's not a forceful aphrodisiac. It's not like cayenne pepper, which directly acts on peripheral circulation. Instead, it just increases vitality, and from that, all sorts of vitalities are increased. So it works to increase sexual vitality in the same way it helps one lift up heavy objects. And I consider burdock to be a Western adaptogen. And adaptogens are herbs that are non-toxic, that can be taken over a long period of time, and help one's body respond to stress and adapt to stress in a non-specific, very general way. And so I want to say that first, just because a lot of herbs you can use very specifically, and you can use burdock very specifically, but it's also an herb you can use really, really generally. And I believe it does have an action of increasing vitality. Now, more specifically, it is one of the great Western alternatives or blood purifiers. And Matthew Wood gives a pretty good portrait of what it acts on, and he considers it to be very specific for people who are dry or have issues with oil. So you may be typically dry skin, but oftentimes or other times very, very oily skin, who then have the indications of needing an alterative, or specifically skin issues, so psoriasis, eczema, pimples, boils, acne, etc. And those are the indications generally, the skin issues are the indications generally for an alterative, or for blood purification in general. There's a lot of times that people just assume right off the bat that they need to do blood purification, but in herbalism, traditional herbal systems, you typically don't do blood purification unless it's indicated. So it's indicated by skin issues, and also when there is a thick adhesive coating on the tongue. And from my own clinical practice, I found that to be true. I gave reishi and encouraged a young man with dry skin and chronic nasty boils, to take burdock as well. And he reported after a few months that the boils went away, and he had tinnitus in his ear, and the tinnitus went away, which is fascinating because tinnitus is considered to be in traditional Chinese medicine a symptom of really intense kidney deficiency. And burdock, as an adaptogen, I'm calling it an adaptogen because I believe it is, then is able to recharge that vital energy. Matthew Wood talks a lot about how burdock acts really profoundly on the oil pathways of the body, and that so it is good for the creation of hormones that are based on cholesterol, like sex hormones. And then it is also really good for when people are not able to digest fats well, and then because they're not able to digest the fats and get the slow energy that's released by fats, you need lots of quick fixes of sugar. And the kidney applications and these digestive applications make a lot of sense, especially given the genus name of burdock, which is Arctium, which is based on the Greek arctos, or bear. And so Matthew Wood then says that burdock is a European, or Eurasian more generally, but a Eurasian bear medicine. And a bear medicine is a Native American medicinal category for an agent that is a sweet, bitter, aromatic, oily root that has little brown hairs, and there's sort of these brownish hairs at the top of the root that helps promote digestion and shores up the adrenal glands. And so burdock is in every way in that category, and even also makes the burrs, which look like bear paws. And so it is a European bear medicine as well, according to Matthew Wood. And then it has some really interesting first aid applications. William Lasassier says that if you cut right where the leaves meet the root, there's this pithy substance, and that pithy substance you can take and pack wounds where flesh has been removed in chunks, and the flesh will regenerate really well. And fortunately, I've never had occasion to do that, but I find it fits with the logic of the plant as something that's deeply revitalizing. And Seven Song, an herbalist in upstate New York, talked about the revitalizing property in a really coherent way when he said that burdock is indicated for when someone has a chronic disease and their life force is circling the drain. So I consider that to be a really powerful indication. And the leaves have also been used in medicine. Margaret Grieve talks about it, using them as a digestive aid, as like a bitter, because they're very bitter, and then they've also been used on top of wounds to sterilize them, because they have a kind of a sterilizing property. And Matthew Wood talks about using them combined with cleavers and elderleaf for pulling out boils. And the old authors talk about, the old medical writers talk a lot about burdock. They consider it to be a blood purifier with and a diuretic, which means that it is cleansing. It's an alterative. It cleanses the blood. It helps with derangements, like foundational derangements, and it also helps to build the kidneys. So Margaret Grieve talks about that. She considers it to be one of the best alteratives. And Finlay Ellingwood and John Uri Lloyd of the American Materia Medica and Pharmacognosy, the eclectic medical textbook of 1915, also talk about it being one of the best blood purifiers. They considered it to be about equal to Yellow Dock, which was they really loved a lot. So you want to get it in its first year or the beginning of its second year before it makes a stalk. So while the root is still nice and tender, where you can still eat it, because it gets really, really woody. And I prefer to take it as a decoction, so I like to cut up the root and simmer it for about 45 minutes or longer. And the tincture works really well too. And also it makes a nice vinegar. It grows everywhere. It's a common weed. You could even call it an invasive if you were feeling mean. And so, yeah, that's what I know about the burdock. I hope that you found this informative and entertaining, and that you'll consider going outside and meeting your local neighborhood burdock. I've so enjoyed talking with you about the wonderful and exciting world of herbs, and look forward to talking again soon. All right, take care, and bye.